we don't know what will be the next problem. And if you don't move firewood long distances, you can avoid some of that. If you have a boat, clean it thoroughly before transporting it to a new body of water, because there are lots of invasive aquatic plants and animals that are really, really big problems. And of course, do not release or introduce any, smuggle any back with you. Not that I think you would, but any animals or plants or lives or produce, anything like that. So a good reminder. And then this is one that always comes up. Report potential invasive species. Well, that's problematic because who do you report them to? If you were to report emerald ash borer, while it would be, everyone is sad about this, we all know that emerald ash borer is here. So it doesn't, there's really no one to report that to because people know about it. Yeah?
Who would you report stuff like that to?
Exactly. So then for emerald ash borer, it's hard because there's not someone that's, we know that it's here. It's not new information. For things like that, for tree pests and problems, you can report them to the Kentucky Division of Forestry. They have a forest health specialist. If you notice anything out of the ordinary, trees dying or defoliators or anything like that, they want to know about them. Similar with your county agents, they can be really, really fabulous resources. If you notice something that seems unusual to you, or if maybe it matches one of those pictures that we talked about, like spotted lanternfly or Asian longhorn beetle, the worst that can happen is they say, oh no, that's a native species, isn't that cool? That's not a problem. That's a good outcome. And if it is one of those species, they could catch it and maybe eradicate it before it becomes a problem. You can also use technology. So you can use it to find and identify invasive species, but also report them. If you are very familiar with, you can report where they're located. So you've used iNaturalist. I know you've used it in this group already, right? So iNaturalist, the invasive species that are reported on iNaturalist, automatically go into a national database of invasive species called EDDMaps. And it takes a little while, there's a lag period, but they will be pipelined into EDDMaps. So if you report and observe invasive species on iNaturalist, eventually they will be placed on EDDMaps, and you can also put them directly on EDDMaps, either through their website or they have an app, but I will tell you it's not quite as user-friendly as the iNaturalist app, which is why I recommend that. The iNaturalist app also lets you verify your identification because they do have that nice feature where you can say, what is this, and get their feedback on it. So if you go onto EDDMaps, however, you will find where other people have reported these species. And you can see kind of what's in your area, what are people reporting. Of course, it's only as good as the reporting, but this is a great citizen science tool as far as way for you to report what you're seeing. So this is that Japanese chafe flower that I mentioned, and here are all the different observations for where it's been found. So you can see when I saw that map, that's what made me think, man, this is going to be a major issue because it's just in this area and it seems like it's spreading fast. So EDDMaps, the website, is a really helpful resource. It's used by land managers at state and federal and private levels. So that would be another great way to report the species you're seeing, both to your county agents, EDDMaps, if you have state people like Kentucky Division of Forestry that would be interested in forest health information. Those are some good people. Anyone else I'm missing? All right, sounds good. Well, I'm over, and we had to skip a lot of nasty species. Yeah?
When you mentioned know your plants, know your invasives, and mistaken identity, it's a good idea to do that for a couple of little reasons. One is some of those plants have thrived and survived because they have some natural compounds in them that basically make them toxic to invertebrates, our livestock, pets, and us. So it's a good idea to learn to identify some of these things because they could cause you some problems, whether it's a dermal issue or the cyanide in the white snake root. And it's usually, especially with the grazing animals, it's under certain conditions where their forage is lacking, so they're forced to eat this other stuff. whether it's the snakeroot or the buttercups, the ranunculus species is the one that's really a bad actor. So it's a good idea to use the wonderful botanical ID skills you've learned in this class to identify all those plants.
Yeah. Hey.
When I went through Master Gardener training, they wanted us to do a leaf collection, and that's why that binder is over there. But I've often thought that the next collection that I do is going to be weeds and invasive species.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really great way to show people what the plant of interest really looks like. It's one thing to show a picture, but if you can show them the plant, dried and a good specimen, they would recognize it a lot faster, I think, than in a picture book.
Yeah, I think it's tough because some of them don't preserve terribly well, and it can be hard to see them at different times of the year. So like I think of calorie pear, and while once you get an eye for it, you can totally see it everywhere. The best time to see it and to scout for it is when it's flowering. Because then it's flowering and nothing else has leaves, and you can pick it out, going 70 miles an hour down the highway. And so I think that finding what are those cues that you're really going to hone in on for those different species, what time of year, and scouting at different times of year so you can see things that are out at different times of year can be really helpful. Good point, yeah. Any other thoughts about invasive species? Obviously, we're just scratching the surface, and there's a lot of fabulous resources online that I think can be very helpful when you are trying to figure out not only what to do and how to do it, but how do you invest your time and your resources in this? Because there are many, many invasive species, and how should you best go about this? Do you do all of them? Do you try to manage all of them? Are you going to pick a few that you're really going to try to control in your area? Or maybe you're going to pick a more restricted geographic space and really try to manage that very well. And those are decisions that you kind of have to make for yourself or the organization you're working with to figure out how do you approach these problems and deal with them? Because they're not going anywhere. These are going to stay and more are going to arrive, and you're going to have to continuously learn new species and how to deal with them. So do those of you who've done a lot of invasive species management on your own properties have feedback or advice to give?
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Well, to prioritize too.
Prioritize.
In my mind, honeysuckle's worse than the burning bush, so I would eradicate the honeysuckle first.
I think it's easy to get discouraged by all the different things out there, but you can really make a dent. I mean, like Hannah, just from talking with you about what you've done on your property with garlic mustard, for a lot of people, garlic mustard is impossible to manage, but you have found a good strategy by working with your neighbors to make that happen.
Well, I have been working at it now for like 9 years.
Yeah. So persistence is
Yes,
key.
persistence.
Identification, which you're helping.
Huh?
I'm learning to identify.
Identification,
It
persistence.
helps to have your neighbors on board so that you don't have a seed bed or whatever you want to call it, that the deer are tracking over onto your property.
Very good point. Very good point.
And then, the other thing is nip it, nip it, nip it, as Barney would say. If you see 1 or 2 plants, grab them early, and then, don't let them go to seed. If you see them going to seed, I mean, it's over. Well, it's not over, but definitely pull those plants and don't cut those plants, because then you're spreading the seed around. You have got to bag, and with garlic mustard, you can have the little flowers, and do not trust those little flowers, because it can be laying there, and I swear they form viable seeds if there is.
Oh yeah, yeah. They definitely will.
On invasives that have a flower on them, I bag them.
That is
And I
good.
don't trust them from not forming the seeds.
Well, it has been wonderful talking with all of you. Sorry it was so rushed, but I'm glad we didn't get gas poisoning. So I mean, that's a positive. Yay! Yeah.
Just real quick, because I know people are running out. I put a bunch of stuff up on the Google Docs today, Google Drive today. I also put a bunch of videos up on YouTube. I've also put up makeup things that people miss. A couple things just to let you know. Wildlife, if you missed that one, on October the 26th at UK, we're going to go out to Raven Run and do our wildlife out there. So if that's an option for you, that one.
What day of the week is that?
That's a Friday. They're Fridays. So that's going to be one there. We're going to do, I believe, archaeology next week. We're not going to be here. We're going to actually be another site. I'm going to send you all out directions for that as well. If you cannot make that one on Friday, we're going to Adena Park, which is near a UK property, but it's near, not too far from the horse park. So that's going to be an option as well. So I'm going to try to send out a few of those, like here's some makeup assignments you can do with the videos and things like that, but here's some other UK ones. And if you want to go to those, you're more than welcome. I just need to know, because if you're riding with us, we have limited van space, and otherwise I just need to get you directions. But if you need to reminder where the YouTube videos are at, or if you need a reminder about Google Docs, just let me know and I'll resend it for you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Nice seeing everyone.
Thank you.
And take cookies with you. We have a lot left. So take some cookies.
Can I make a pitch? Barclays has 2 volunteer activities on November 11th and 10th and November 7th.
But I kind of realize, I think what's going on there is that it was a pioneer species. Because where I have it the worst is